We recognize that CVUUS gathers on the land of the Western Abenaki people. We respect their spiritual relationship to the land, and we hope to learn from them how we can live together in peace and justice. Good morning. Welcome, everyone in the sanctuary and on Zoom, to CVUUS, the Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, where we strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community that sustains a liberal religious tradition. We aspire to be visible and active on behalf of social justice and environmental responsibility. We nurture and empower each other at all stages of our spiritual journeys, and we reach out to the larger communities of which we are a part. If this is your first time with us, we hope you'll return, and we invite you to sign the book just outside the sanctuary. If you are joining us for the first time on Zoom, you can let us know your email in the chat so that we can allow you to get to know us better by sending you our weekly email blast. If you need hearing assistance in the sanctuary, we have some terrific headsets that you can get from Alan in the back there. And this would be a great time to put those cell phones in worship mode. My name is Becky Strum. I'm a member of this congregation. And this morning, as our settled minister, the Reverend Barnaby Feeder, is on sabbatical, I am delighted to be serving as worship associate today for our guest minister, the Reverend Christina Solari. Christina is a minister emerita of the UU Church in Portland, Maine, and she was with us last week and has graced our pulpit on other occasions. Each week, there are many pathways and opportunities to connect outside of Sunday services. There's a whole list in your order of service. I'm going to highlight a few of those. And first of all, today, this morning, after the service, Elizabeth Golden, there she is. Elizabeth Golden needs some help moving books into the fellowship hall in preparation for the sale at the Rhubarb Festival. So please give Elizabeth a hand after that. In addition, the UUA General Assembly registration is open, and you can ask Doug Richards about being a delegate. So it's really so much about rhubarb prep. For our first in 2 years full-on Rhubarb Festival on Saturday, June 4th, there are still many, many ways to help out and be involved. There's a nice list in the order of service and online, so please give a hand with that. After the service, please do join us downstairs for coffee hour. There's going to be ice available if you want to make iced coffee. I want to thank right now all of those who have helped to prepare for this service. Christina in leading the service, our music director Ronnie Romano and the choir, Margie and Jordan Young and Richard Hopkins for the technical support, our flower co-op for seasonal arrangements, Mike Greenwood and Alan Moore for overseeing safety, sound, and social hour, and Avi Frund and Helen Vanderberg and others who helped set up, usher, and greet.
Good morning. Here In this congregation, human beings have gathered for decades, seeking a higher purpose and deeper life than they could find alone. We are grateful for each one of you here today, that you found your way to CVUUS and that you're committed to this faith community. We never really know what combination of fate and friendship and good luck it is that brings certain people together in the world for a certain purpose. But we believe that membership in a congregation call each of us to honor our living tradition and to regard each one a spiritual friend and potential teacher, even of occasional hard lessons. The relationships we form in our congregations are based on needs of the mind, a longing to find common ground in our values and make sense of the world, and needs of the soul, longings that render each of us vulnerable and therefore reliant on each other's grace and goodness and generosity of spirit. It is with this spirit that Becky welcomes Tom Morgan as a new member of CVUUS.
Tom, we are so glad that you're here with us and that you have chosen this community of fellow seekers to travel with you on your life's journeys. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and all that your human presence includes, bringing your gifts? Will you engage with us as we seek to create, to build a local community and a world dedicated to love and justice?
I will.
Congregation, will you welcome Tom with your warmth and comfort of your companionship? Will you seek to add your strengths and talents to the gifts he brings? Will you freely share and include Tom in our triumphs and our struggles, our joys and our sorrows, as our community grows and adapts to the world around us?
We will. We are glad you are here with us.
And now Marjorie and Doug have some welcome gifts.
Welcome, and we have some traditions as far as welcoming members. One of them is a rose. Now, the rose has thorns, as does life, so be careful with those, but it is a sign of all sorts of good things that we have in our world, and you are a part of our improving, better world. We also have some other gifts that come in a little bag, and I think I'm going to let Doug handle that.
Tom, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome you to the congregation. And as a token of our esteem, we've got for you a little bag of goodies.
Thank you, sir.
So Tom is going to sign the book as a new member, and then Tom is going to say a few words. He's the only new member this time, and he has some thoughts that he would like to share after he signs the book. Thank you, Tom. You can use
So I don't think I need the mic. Oh, we have Zoom. Technology. What brings you to Unitarian Universalism, I have been asked. Mike Greenwood suggested that I might offer a few words as a sort of short introduction of myself, but rather than ramble off biography, which I'd rather exchange for yours as we get to know each other better, I thought I might offer a brief explanation. For me, coming to Unitarian Universalism has not occurred because of family heritage or legacy. It is not because of a rejection of another faith tradition, although I do utterly reject the injustices and suffering perpetrated by any other organized religion. I have arrived at Unitarian Universalism after decades of discernment, plus a few years of divinity school. I have come to an intimate awareness of a transcendent mystery and its corresponding light that exists in and is reflected by each sentient being. I am a Unitarian Universalist because my journey, my dharma, is to join and support others as we explore, reflect, and love what the late Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks called this radically diverse plurality of creation. When we speak of matters of the spirit, we are limited to speaking in metaphors. I find that poets and mystics are pretty good with metaphors. The medieval mystic Meister Eckhart observed that the light of truth is within each of us, and it is love that draws person to person. Grace translates love into human experience, and grace is always found in becoming. Having attended worship here with you at CVUUS for several weeks now, I can say that I have rarely been among a group so intentionally and gracefully committed to the principles that honor the becoming of each individual. I am grateful to be with you.
Thank you, Tom, so much for those words. You basically summed up my sermon. He said it in much less words. Our call to worship is by Guru Tegh Bahadur, leader of the Sikhs from 1665 until his beheading in 1675. Why do you go in the forest in search of the divine? God lives in all and abides with you as well. As fragrance dwells in a flower or reflection in a mirror, so the divine dwells inside everything. Seek, therefore, in your own heart.
Now, our newest member, Tom Morgan, will light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Please join me in the reading as we light the chalice. It's in your order of service and on the screen as well. May God, the mind that sees our faults, the tears that sting our wounds, the laugh that soothes our aches, and the love that redeems us all, be illuminated by the light we kindle in this house of faith. And now, let's join, as you are able, hymn number 126 in the gray, and it will also be on the screen.
So Poppy was planning on doing the Time for All Ages, and she is still sick with COVID symptoms. She's okay. So we have a little video we want to share.
I am a Muslim.
Baptist.
Technically, I'm Jewish.
Ethical culturist.
I don't really get what you're saying. Muslim.
Muslim.
I consider being a Muslim.
I don't know.
I believe in God, but in Arabic, it's Allah.
I'm not supposed to say it.
Hashem?
Yes, but many other different names that are in the Bible. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
He's the creator. He gives people lots of chances and he can re-give.
Creates apples. He makes peace. He could just make the earth collapse inward.
When he gets happy, I think he brings out the sun again.
If caterpillar is just walking around, Allah decides when it needs to go into its chrysalis to turn into a butterfly.
I always picture him as being like a father.
Kind of like Santa.
I don't think I have a particular reason. I just don't think he's real.
I think he lives up
in heaven.
It's called Jannah. It's like a different dimension.
somewhere in Egypt.
I picture of it as like a city up in the sky. I don't think heaven actually exists, but something similar to it.
The bushes will grow candy.
Probably
bad people go to bad heaven?
I don't believe in it.
It's where bad God is.
You're just dead.
Only people that believe in God believe in heaven.
Different people can believe different things.
Because everybody's different.
We respect other faiths.
There are many different religions all over the world, and
their beliefs don't affect me.
It's their choice. No one's wrong and no one's right. It doesn't matter if they believe in stuff that we don't.
Just respect each other and then we'll all be fine.
All right, just got to negotiate mask, hearing aids, glasses, and small ears. Hi, I'm Neil Chippendale. As you know, this month we're collecting for Ukraine. I want to thank all of you for the gifts that have been given so far. And Chris Butler tells me that so far this is the largest share the plate offering that's ever been in the church in her experience. So, and we still have today to top that and set an all-time record. So I brought my envelope. I got Ukrainian donation 100% marked on the outside so that I'm not sharing it. I already got a pledge. So you can do the same, and that'd be good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a video. I was going to show this 3 weeks ago, but technical difficulties and other services, it was hard to get it in. So, and we have it's a YouTube video. It comes from the people in Romania, the Unitarians from Transylvania, who are helping to supply Ukrainians and driving vans of supplies into the country. And so they're going to tell us about what they're doing. As you know, I have a over 25-year association with the Unitarians in Transylvania. I've traveled there, wife and I have traveled there. And there's actually some people in here that I know that are in the video. You won't know who they are, but I do. So hopefully the video works this time. And then we'll have a little music after, and just feel free to come up and fill this basket right up here. Thank you.
I greet everyone. My name is Székely Kinga-Réka. I'm coming from the Hungarian Unitarian Church in Transylvania, together with 3 other guys, Vagyas Attila, Szabó László. They are also Unitarian ministers, and Kis Oliver, he is a journalist. And we are here in the western part of Ukraine. It's called Transcarpathia. And we are at the coordination center of the Reformed Church in Transcarpathia. We, thanks God, were able to bring 2 loads, 2, as I can say, huge shipments of food, sleeping bags, all kind of cleaning facilities, and camping beds, and well, other things that were needed. We actually got a list from the Transcarpathian Reformed Church, and according to that list we packed 2 vans and we came to western Ukraine. We would like to inform you who speak English, that altogether we already had 2 shipments, and well, it's 29, almost 30,000 US dollars worth of shipment so it's pretty essential. And this one is actually one part of that shipment, because the second one was taken to the southern part of Ukraine, and that is Odessa and its regions. And thanks to the refugees who actually stay in the dormitory in Kolozsvár, Cluj-Napoca, they took a shipment of medications and medical supplies to the hospitals in Odessa and nearby region. We would like to express our grateful thanks for all your support. We know that we have been supported by the UUA, the congregations of the UUA, but also the International Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women. Their extraordinary help made it possible for us to come here and today be in Western Ukraine. We also would like to say thank you to other individuals and other communities who don't belong to the UU world, but we would like to express our gratefulness because we plan to actually continue our aid work, and whenever we get a list from Odessa or from this place, which is called in Hungarian Beregszás, but in Ukrainian Berehove, whenever we get a list, we would like to honor that list and again to bring aid, to bring shipments. Thank you very much for your support.
It has been a week of living, a week of sadness and happiness, joys and concerns, milestones and passages. And it's at this time in our service that we share some of those milestones and passages by writing on these yellow cards. I have 3, and if anybody has another, I guess not. Okay. So coming after the offering, this is Mike Greenwood wanted to offer this about another donee. Every year we donate a portion of our monthly offering to what we have come to call a startup congregation. In February of this year, we gave to All Souls UU in Palicon, Florida. And this is from a thank you card containing many messages of gratitude. Here is one. First, astounded that a check would just suddenly appear in the mail, and then astonished at the amount. Our gratitude is deep. As a former Northeast UU, you must know that being a UU in Florida is much more difficult. Thank you. This is from Francois, who I hope is watching on Zoom. And Francois says, can we take a moment to show our empathy for the 10 black folks who were killed by a racially charged white supremacist? It would mean a lot to me. Thank you, Francois. And then finally, some news about Marnie Wood from Lynn Bauman. Marnie is eternally grateful for your abundant love and healing prayers. These empowered Marnie to return home Friday night, a mere week after her stroke, and to make a 90% turnabout from the very frightening first days, having never been in a hospital, to her remarkable recovery. Marnie will continue with home health care for ongoing spatial and perception issues. Her loving sister Deb is cooking all her favorite foods and showering her with love. Please continue sending your beautiful cards, and we hope visits will be set up soon. We are deeply grateful for all your love. Lynn, and thank you so much, Lynn, and our hearts, we are all holding Marnie in our hearts. She's online now. Oh.
Let's take a moment in silence just to lift up the unspoken joys and sorrows that live in our hearts. And while we're here, in our hearts, let's take a deep breath, really feeling the energy of our heart, whether it's the physical heart or the energetic heart, which is called a chakra in Hinduism, living in the center of the chest. You can even put your hand there. Connecting our hearts with the other hearts in this space. Extending our hearts to those on Zoom that are with us. Extending our hearts to our families and friends and the greater community. And in the next minute or so, silence marked by the ringing of the bell. Let's have the intention of continuing to expand our hearts. Take a deep breath. And just for a moment, connect with the heart of the earth and the heart of the cosmos. And let's remain seated as we sing our hymn.
So, our reading today is from some of you who responded to Christina's request for your ideas or notions about God. I have 4 that I will read anonymously. The first one: I don't believe in an all-powerful, omniscient God, but every night and morning I say, silently, words of gratitude and request. To whom am I addressing these words? I don't know. The second: the first thing that popped into my head when thinking about God was seeing the first earthworm castings of spring. The miracle of these soft, fragile creatures surviving all winter beneath the frozen ground, digesting earth and improving the soil with its waste. A third: is there an animating spirit, a mysterious reverberation in the universe that we could call a great spirit? While I have come to think no, I do think that the fact that there is an ever-evolving, complex web of life on a big rock hurtling through space is a miracle. The energies pulsing inside the web are a marvel. the energies pulsing back and forth between us as we care for one another might be a form of spirit as well. I am grateful for the chance to be on the rock with you, and maybe that's enough. And finally, there may be some type of spiritual presence or beings or existence. Are they what many organized religions perpetuate? That is unknown. The fact is, none of us will know until we are dead, if there are, for sure. I believe that there are kind, loving, compassionate, humane principles within most organized religions that can be followed. From my very limited knowledge, when you really look at the basic principles of organized religions, most of them have some sort of moral, ethical principle to treat others as you wish yourself to be treated, to be helpful to those in need, and be honest among others. If I live with those principles as best as I can, then I am hopefully leaving the world just a little bit better than it was, and that is my goal.
God is lost and forgotten in our faith because God has been personified, objectified, deified, vilified, scrutinized, and worshipped sometimes in the name of oppression. Religion itself has misrepresented God, using it to control people and cultures and nations. Governments have aligned with God in the name of power over the people. The God many of us grew up with did not answer prayers, allowed horrific things to happen, sometimes punished the people who worshiped him, and created rules contradicting our values. It is easy for us as Unitarian Universalists, as liberal, open-minded, intelligent people, to let go of trying to understand and prove whether God exists or not. We are faithful people, and we use our faith to try and be in right relationship with ourselves, each other, the earth, and the world around us. We come to church not for God, but for community and connections, for music and mindfulness, for poetry and playfulness, for justice and joy, for our children and our elders. We come to worship on Sunday mornings for many reasons, but not to worship God. But I'm wondering if you think about God or reflect upon the mystery. It's hard to be alive and not think about God. I love what Zen teacher Norman Fisher says about God in his new book, When You Greet Me, I Bow. When asked what God is like, he says, God is like being alive, like life, like being. He tells his children, God is obvious, necessary, and ubiquitous. Children learn about God from their parents, as our Time for All Ages video so sweetly exhibited. Yet no matter what they learn or don't learn, the notion of God is always lurking. Even atheists and agnostics think about God, or they would not be questioning or rejecting God. I think it's interesting that ideas about God change over time. Just like humans have evolved, God has evolved. In her book, A History of God, Karen Armstrong explores how belief in God among and between Christians, Jews, and Muslims over the past several thousand years has and continues to have contradictory and even mutually exclusive meanings. She writes, if we look at our three religions, it becomes clear that there is no objective view of God. Each generation must create the image of God that works for it. The same is true for atheism, she says. The statement, I do not believe in God, has meant something slightly different at each period of history, depending on which notion of God is being rejected. There must be something to this idea of God, or it would not have survived throughout human history, nor would so many people believe in God. And lots of people do, many in a personal God. Then again, everyone once believed the earth stood at the center of the universe. For me, God is a reality. If God is a reality, then God does not have a plan. God's word is not inscribed in any holy books. God is not all-knowing or all-powerful. God does not punish or reward. God does not intervene in human affairs. And God is definitely not an identifiable being. As you heard last week, some of you, after making my claim as an atheist for many years, my mystical yearnings led me back to searching for God. I think it was around the time when I fully realized I am mortal. I'm going to die. My need to know God was fueled by my ego's desire to exist eternally. So I searched for proof of God because I was afraid of death, because I believed without some sense of God, my consciousness, which I'm so attached to, would dissolve. And this terrified me. As the theologian Paul Tillich wrote, the human heart seeks the infinite because that is where the finite wants to rest. In the infinite, the human heart sees its own fulfillment. Because I had rejected the Christian notion of God as the Father in heaven, my searching brought me into the shamanic realms, yoga, meditation, the transcendental world of Emerson, Sufi mysticism, the ancient goddess traditions, quantum physics. Actually, the most powerful conversations I ever had about God were with physicists. I think even my journey into ministry was an expedition to find God. None of it was helpful. I never found God in any theology or philosophy, so I resolved myself to the fact that I must wait until science finds proof of God. And I was heartened by Nancy Ellen Abrams' book. Anyone read it? A God That Could Be Real. When she asks, could anything actually exist in the universe as science understands it that is worthy of being called God? What do you think? There's so much we don't know. So much science has not yet discovered. The holy grail of science may be to explain the universe without God, Abrams writes, but the holy grail of a flourishing scientific civilization must be to find a scientifically accurate understanding of us humans in this universe and express it, live it, and share it, so that it inspires and empowers us for the future. My future feels entangled with my journey towards God, which has opened my heart to the idea that if I could not see God in each living being on this planet, then I would never really know God. And I continue to be devoted to our faith tradition because it supports my exploration and my questioning, but most importantly, Unitarian Universalism has taught me to find God in people, in all of you, and in me. So I'm no longer searching for God because I have found God. For me, God is undefinable because God is everywhere and can be expressed in infinite ways through any living energy or being. A Muslim once said, if the branches of all the trees of the world were pens and all the waters of the world were ink, we still couldn't write all the names and qualities of God. We are surrounded by the energy of God because God's greatest expression of itself comes through the human heart. And not simply in the form of love, but as a living experience of being open and present to all that is. We simply may not recognize the flow of God through us, through an earthworm, a flower, a sunrise, a child's laughter. In his book, This is Water, David Foster Wallace shares a parable. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over the other and goes, "What the hell is water?" The point of the story is that the most important realities are often the most difficult to see. Each of us is like a fish in water. There's no experience we have had that we are not the absolute center of. We may be swimming in God and not know it. The biggest obstacle for me to experiencing God as an energy all around us and within us is my mind. The mind is an amazing thing. It makes us human. Yet, it is our thoughts that prevent us from allowing this energy to flow through our beings. Our ego, which is the primary controlling force of the mind, wants to separate everything. And God does not flow in separation. Most religions that speak about God create separation. If God exists, religion is not necessarily the place to find God. Old views of God are keeping the world trapped in the illusion of separateness, which leads to violence, war, harming our planet, and the possible extinction of our species. If God moves through our human hearts, then God will emerge more fully as we open our hearts. As the heart of humanity grows more open, then perhaps God's presence will express itself more fully. And then maybe a planetary God will emerge. When's the last time God's energy flowed through you or between you and another. We all know stories of God's working through people in powerful ways, when unexplained physical strength overcomes someone to save another life, when someone receives important messages in dreams or visitations from deceased loved ones, when someone who has gone through unfathomable torture or tragedy becomes our spiritual teacher, when groups of people gather together to stop violence, destruction, or oppression. I could go on. The only way to show true respect for God is to act morally while ignoring God's existence, writes Karen Armstrong. God does not serve and save us. We serve and save each other. The power of being human lies in our willingness to allow God to move through us. We are God. Each of us is essentially God, yet our ego blocks our true essence from revealing itself, leading to disconnection and suffering. God is moving through me right now. I feel it in many ways. I feel it for the love I have for our faith, for you all. I feel it at the bedside of a dying person. I feel it when I support my family and friends. I feel it when I cook a meal and water my garden. I feel it when I receive the beauty of the natural world. I feel it when I dance. I feel it when I'm engaged in justice work. And this God I'm talking about is not personal. This God is an energy, a transpersonal, transcendent, immanent energy which can be felt in and around every being I meet, the ones I like and the ones I don't like, the ones I agree with and the ones I disagree with, everyone. We are all walking on sacred ground together, hand in hand, heart to heart. Our only job is to see the divine in everything, first in our own hearts, because it is our hearts that serve and save one another to create heaven on earth. So our closing words is a poem in that book by Norman Fisher. And it's called How God, Norman Fisher's a Buddhist, by the way, How God Gets Into It. God arrives in the transitions, the times between before and after, the shatterings, bendings, breakings, moments of devilment and blasted pose. The feeling then arises, a draft in the system, tiny shaft of light in the visual field, which, when noticed and affirmed, opens out to an aura on the screen of eclectic ineffability. One's arms open in quietude and perplexity. There's nothing to say, do, or think.
Work with me, my sister.